Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Saturday morning. I would like to introduce our Executive Director, Lavinia Mancuso. Good morning, Lavinia.
Good morning, and I am so happy to see all of you, and I am so happy to introduce Linda Silbert. Linda Silbert and I are great friends and co-conspirators, as are all of you, because our shared mission is to get everyone reading and doing math. And we know that with the right instruction, it can be done. So since my memory is not great, I am going to cheat and read to you about Linda Silbert and the Learn Method. So Dr. Linda Silbert, along with her husband, Al Silbert, has dedicated over 45 years to the enhancement of children's intellectual, emotional, and social development. She lectures and leads workshops about how to help children succeed in school and beyond. Having served as a classroom teacher, administrator, counselor, and owner of a private tutoring and test prep company, she and her husband have written over 50 books and developed over 75 learning games that provide students with repetition and review of academic subjects in an environment that is fun and engaging. The Silberts created the Strong Learning Method, also known as the Learn Method, to ensure that every student learns at any age in any subject. Today, she will show you how to use the Strong Learning Method to teach beginning math skills, which are the foundations to math success. And I want to quote Anita Archer on the importance of practice to move basic skills into your long-term memory so that you can use your working memory to actually do higher level thinking and creative things. And to quote Anita, she says, drill and kill, show me the bodies. There are no documented fatalities caused by the times tables. So on that note, we have Linda and Al Silbert. Have a good morning, and I'll be here listening in. Bye.
My husband and I created this, after teaching gazillion years, obviously, a learn method. We call it the Strong Learning Method, and I'll explain it all in a little while. Have any of you been to any of my other webinars or workshops so you know about it? Just raise your hand. No. Okay, this is good, so I can go on and on. Without spending $10,000 for some big fancy program, learning it's pretty basic, and this is what it is. It's in 5 steps, and that's what we're going to be going over. Today we're using the Strong Learning Method to how do you teach children K through 3, and it's called math, but it's basically arithmetic. Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about. How many of you, just raising your hands, how many teach K, first, second, third? You're all within that? Okay, so everyone's there. Okay, so let me go. Before I even begin, I want to just say thank you. Thank you, thank you for being teachers. I don't know how often you hear it, but my husband and I both former teachers. He taught physics. I taught 3rd grade 100 years ago and was a principal of his little private school. And teaching is one of the most difficult careers, and I don't think people realize it unless they're there. All the parents come in and complain about the birthday party they just had to give, and they had 10 kids there, and this kid was running over there, and we played the games, and I was exhausted when they all left, and that's what they're telling me. Can you imagine if they had to be in a classroom every single day, 25 to 30 or more kids, and actually teach them reading, teaching them math? Okay, it's unbelievable, and I really respect every one of you, and thank you so much for what you do. Okay, now let's go on to, do you have, I hope you all downloaded the packet. You're getting 12 things today in your packet. How many raise your hands that you did download the packet before? Oh, phew. Okay, good. because there's so many times I'll be giving one in person and they'll go, the what? Oh, do you have something? So, okay, this package, this is everything. You keep all these. I'm going to be showing you different games and things to do. And then, so when you leave here, copy a lot of them. And so you'll have them. We're going to begin here with the Learn method. It follows a star. So take it, look at your packet, and it's number 1 in your packet, if you see it, number 1. And so you'll know and you can follow along when we get to it. You'll be seeing it on the screen and your own packet. This explains what is the Learn method. So think of L, the level, L for Learn, L. Start at the level of the student and build from there. I'm going to give you just a very quick summary of what this is, and then we're going to go into each one deeper, and you'll see. So the method begins with whatever you're doing. I don't care what you're teaching. And of course, we're going to focus on math today, and I'm going to show you what to do to find out the level the child's at. You can't go to division unless they know that times table. You can't go to subtraction unless they know the addition facts. Then we go to E, the Learn, E, engage. You can't engage your child to teach them anything unless they're emotionally and socially with you. A child who's sitting nervous, or a child who's scared, or a child who is afraid the kid next to them is going to make fun of them will not become engaged. A, activate. Most of the things I'll be doing today are showing you, once you have that, you know the level, you have the engagement, activate the brain and the body. Kindergarten through 3rd graders play. They want to have fun. It's normal. I'm going to show you all different things you can do, teaching arithmetic, basically. That's what we're going to focus on. R is rehearse, repetition, practice. I don't care what you call it. They need that practice, and most little children will not practice. They don't want to. I don't blame them. If they're playing games for that activate, they're rehearsing, they're practicing and practicing. Finally, neural change. How do you know if they actually learned? You reassess, okay? And if they didn't, we'll move on, go back and keep playing. They're fine with it because they just want to play. Okay, let's now move on to Strong Learning Assessment Tool. If you look at your packet, there are 4 pages. You see in the bottom of this PowerPoint, it says packet pages 2 through 5. You have pages 2 through 5. It begins here. There are 2 pages, which is the student form, which you give the child, and there are 2 pages, the teacher, the assessment form, the examiner's form, and they give you answers there. If you look at this assessment today, because we're doing math, we're focusing on those beginning skills in math. Okay, if you were teaching any other subject, the phonics workshop I give, you'll get a packet to assess the phonics. Today, it's just the math. And if you're teaching anything, just make up a quick assessment so you know where that child is. Okay, there's the assessment. And I'm going to keep referring back to it and referring back to it. So just keep it aside. Okay, let me move on. Engage. Okay, what is engage? Okay, now, I said it's an emotional, social engagement. Think back, just kind of reflect a little. When you were in a math class, just by show of hands, how many absolutely love math? My husband's raising his hand. He's got his doctorate in teaching math and physics, but he's kind of, he's not with the majority of people, especially elementary school teachers. Most of them avoid math. They didn't like math. And here's some questions. Did a teacher ever compliment you when you were in math? Do you think about it? Was a teacher ever sarcastic? Okay. because I've had people, one woman came to me, she was in her 50s, and she said to me, I really never really learned how to read, and I can't do any math. And she said, when I went to school, they called me stupid little Mary. And I mean, picture that today. And she said, I was devastated. That emotional block went up, and that poor woman, she did learn to read. She even got a job. She learned the math. But if somebody insults you, someone says something, it never goes away. Now, what teachers say and do matters. Okay, that was a good try. That's something a teacher can say. I'm proud to be your teacher. I always knew you could do it. Just those little statements will help them move along. Nope, you got it wrong again, go sit down. Go look at it again. Think. Don't move. Just sit there and think. That child is going to sit there and they're going to stare. I had a grandmother call me the other day and she said, he's entering 5th grade. I do the homework with him when he gets home. I was the one with him on Zoom. He's reading beautifully. We get to the math. She said, I don't think he knows his addition facts. And when I talk about anything, and by the way, this grandmother is a retired New York City teacher, reading teacher. She said, he just stares. So I said, his anxiety goes so high. And I don't know how many of you took courses in there and know this. In your brain, everything's connected by neurons and they're connected by these dendrites. When you get anxious, they shrink and there's nothing happening. You know yourself. When something happens and a kid's asking you something and something else happened in the class and you go, wait, I can't think straight. Not until you can relax and they go back and you go, okay, I can think now. That happens to a lot of the kids, especially in math. One more quick thing. Learn method begins by creating an environment conducive to learning. That's that emotional, social environment. And the first bullet, which is interesting for people to know, I literally did my doctoral dissertation on the antecedents of self-esteem in children. What creates self-esteem? We all think, oh, they're going to feel great because they just caught the ball. They're going to feel great. They got 100 on the math test. That's a little bit of it. What creates self-esteem in all of us, okay, is how we perceive the other person, that significant other person perceives us. Okay, if you feel the principal of your school or the other teachers think you're the greatest teacher on earth, you're going to feel great. If you feel they don't, your self-esteem is going to go down. Children, especially math. Okay, teachers, bullet 1, teachers are among students' most important significant others. First, mom, dad, grandparents, which they're not always that involved in family's house, but then comes teachers. And it's kindergarten, first, second, third. You're creating, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure on us. Critical how that teacher responds. What you say and do is going to create how that child feels about themselves, whether they're good in math or they're not. Now, they could be struggling, but all we can do is say, you always try. How did you get that answer last time? What did you do? So when students perceive their teachers like them, they'll work for those teachers and do well. Let's go. I'm just going to go over our name of our company, name of our programs, our Strong Learning Method. Strong is an acronym for self-esteem, promoted by teachers and parents. Trust, essential that they can trust you, that you're not going to turn around and go, you didn't finish that. You're not going out for recess. Forget it. Go sit down again. Responsibility, prerequisite for school success, responsibility on the child side and the teachers and the parents. Hard sometimes to get the parents. Options, teach a child knows they have an option. I'm going to give you all kinds of games to play. And if they play another game and love that game better, go with it. Okay, needs a safe environment is critical. Remember Maslow's stages of development. Safety's number 1. They have to feel safe emotionally. And goals help them steer their lives. Okay, so we're going to say, today we're going to learn such and such. And that's going to set the goal for them. Activate. Activate the mind and the body. I'm going to go into a lot of games with you. Now, let's pick up the assessment again. And I'm going to now show you, now you have, we're going to get the level of the child. You know you have to have that emotional and social environment. Now we're going to LEA, activate. This is critical because the games they play and the activities, if you do them over and over and over again, there's your repetition. And they'll be with you. They'll be doing it. And they'll have their mind with you. Let's look at the assessment again. Look at the teacher form. The teacher, that's pages 3 and 4. Okay, pages 3 and 4. Let's say, now you'll read this when you have some time when you're done. We have detailed directions. This is all you have to do. It's not one of those huge tests and things that you have to spend days trying to figure out. This is it. You put the student form in front of them, and or you'll probably only get up to page 1 of the student form, actually page 2. But let's look, now we're on page 2 of the student form. But here it says number 4 on the bottom. It says number 4. Do you all have it? You all shake, yeah, good. Okay, let's say you go to number 1 and you say to the child, please, and by the way, even if you have a 3rd grader, have them do this. Have them do number 1. I've worked with kids, even in reading, and I have them tell me the alphabet, show me the letters. I've had kids in high school. I had one boy one year say to me, that's a W. I always get confused with that. Is it a U? Not sure. Always begin and just make a joke of it. I know it's so easy because it's going to be very easy for all of them, most of them, but you're going to find some child and you're going to realize there's this gap. And that's why, because math builds. It's not going from American history one year to world history the next year. If you miss that year before and you miss some gaps in that year, you're going to have a problem from then on. So go back, look at number 1. Are you all with me? Did you all see the number 1? Okay. It says, please say the numbers from 1 to 10 in order. It's blank. It's totally blank up here. They just have to tell you. If you see they actually miss a number from 1 to 10, okay, now, many of the little kindergartners could, even some of the 1st graders. If you see that, I'm going to show you some activities you can do. We'll keep coming back to the assessment, and then I'm going to show you activities for the A to activate. Let's go right here. Okay, you can play this song with them. And I've done it in classes. If any of you are on Zoom, which I think most of you won't be, I mean, especially when the fall comes, but you just take, we've created, my husband and I have created, oh my God, over 75 decks of cards. And with each deck, you can play over 15 games. And we'll tell you which one is good for the 5-year-old, the 4-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 7-year-old. I mean, the decks look like this, regular decks of cards. Every deck has 48 cards in it. And we have understanding numbers 1 through 10, understanding numbers 11 through 20. We have the addition deck, multiplication, subtraction, fractions, telling time. We have all that, but you don't have to use ours. We just use it to illustrate everything here. If you have it in your classroom, you have something else you use it. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to use this as the illustration. So I'm taking my deck, understanding numbers 1 through 10, because I have a child that scored on the assessment and is actually missing a few numbers or got confused. You take it and you sing the song. When at school, I learn my numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I stress only 4 or 5 things at a time. When you're teaching anything you're teaching, stick to 4 or 5 things at a time. The brain can only process about 5 things at a time. That's why your zip codes are 5 digits. That's why your phone numbers are 914-203-84, and then goes into the numbers, 2, 3s, and 4s. Look at your social securities. Look at your credit cards. Chunked. It's called chunking. So now you're with these little ones they missed a number, so they're still struggling. So sing, and if you're with them, when at school, I learn my numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 with and they sing 1, 1 here and 1, 1 there, here a 1, there a 1, everywhere 1, 1. When at school, I learn my numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you move on, they start learning them. You then move with 1, 1 here and 2, 2 there. Here 3, there 4, everywhere and you don't say it, they say it. The class sings it. And then you start going to 2, 3. When at school, I learned I didn't change the word from letters to numbers. Numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then you continue. Once they know it, you go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up through 20. We have another deck, and this is 11. This is actually 10 through 20. Okay, so now they start. The children who can't do the numbers, this song is great. You can, and then you start going faster and faster and mixing them up. They end up rolling around the floor because they're giggling and they're laughing. But you can start every morning. With the alphabet, I usually tell the teachers start every morning. Everyone sits down on their mat. So on Zoom, they were doing it, and they're all singing. You're not going to lose them. They're not going to walk away because they're singing and they're looking. Do they know it? And they're the ones that shout out the number. Okay. Now, let's go on. You have that, by the way, it's right in your packet. It's number 6 in your packet. You probably, okay, it's number 6. And you can take this and you can make it for anything you're teaching and use this. But this for the math, it's great. And if it's for the reading, you just do the alphabet. Now let's move on. And let me put this here. Okay. These are just a few little tips, and maybe some of you do them already. If you want to share at the end some of the ideas you've had. Okay, all of this is coming out in August. We're doing an actual workbook for teachers, and I'm doing a 3-hour course, and I'm putting together a workbook for it. And it's little tricks and things you can do in teaching. I keep saying math. It is math, but it's the arithmetic. If they don't get adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, they don't get that foundation, you're going to have a problem when they go to do ratios and fractions. They have to know the times table. Okay, before I say anything, many of the kids that come to me, because we have a private practice for years, and they'll keep their fingers under the table. They're afraid to use their fingers. How many of you have heard you cannot use your fingers? You can't count on your fingers. No one's raising their hands. So you all know your kids all can use their fingers. Thank you. Of course, the goal is to have them, it's automatic. For some kids, it's going to be automatic. You know that. It's going to happen immediately. For others, you talk about losing them emotionally. They're terrified because they rely on those fingers and they have them with them all the time. There was actually research that came out and said kids do better in math is when they began learning this arithmetic, they were allowed to count on their fingers. Okay? It's just creates such confidence. And eventually when they're practicing and doing all these things, they don't want to take the time out. They're just going to start remembering it. The child who can't, we'll talk about later. They may have a math disorder. They may have dyscalculia. They may be a memory issue. There's other issues that come into play. But let them use their fingers. Okay, number one of the tips, and again, not jot down something if you want to share something you're doing. Only introduce 3 to 5 numbers at a time. I just said that before because our brain only processes that much. Okay, begin with them by them saying them, tracing them, coloring them, whatever. Number 2, play follow the dots. How many of you, there may be workbooks you have with follow the dots? They love it, and they'll stay very focused. They're not going to go off task playing follow the dots. Write a series of numbers, leaving certain ones out. They have that in a lot of the math books. They have to fill in 1, 2, 3, 4, and fill it in. Play Twister. How many remember the game Twister? Okay. Put 1, 2, 3, 4 big squares on the floor. Take them to the floor. And someone has you say, now you got to put your foot on the 2, put the other foot on the 4. Play Twister. They love it. And you're going to keep them with you. Okay, then, whoops. Next one. Now I'm just throwing some extra little things in. During this stage of development, you're going to start teaching them to count by 2s, to count by 5s, to count by 10s. Okay? Do it they can use their fingers, whispering and shouting. For example, when the child says, if you're doing by 2s, 1. Did you ever notice when you're trying to get your class together and all of a sudden you start to whisper? The whole class becomes quiet. Everyone's going, what? What? And everyone suddenly stops and they're listening. Whisper, 1. Then have them all shout and they'll scream, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and they could be doing 1, 2, 3. They whispering and shouting. A 7-year-old, 8-year-old are going to love it. Okay, 2, when learning the concept of odd and even, do the same type of thing, whispering, shouting, use different voices, have them talk like a different animal, have them odd, and even numbers separated. Separate the class. They're the evens, they're the odds. Okay, and have them shout out their numbers. Play games instead of just sitting with the workbooks. If you have children in the class, just like any other subject, and they learn this immediately, they don't really need to do this, even though they'll have a good time playing. This is a lot for those little kids who are struggling. When you're learning greater than, less than, you probably all do it already. Just do the alligator. And the big side, how do I do this so you can see it? The big side, where the alligator opens his mouth to eat up the number, that's the big number. That's all they have to remember. Open their mouth really big, goes to the big number. Okay, moving on. Now, let's say we go back to the assessment. So pick up your assessment, and let's say now, go down to number 5 and 6 on the assessment. Okay, 5 and 6. Understanding numbers. This is an interesting thing because we teach children how to add. Probably a lot of you that just hated math, you said, I never got it, I didn't. Probably never really just played with numbers. You didn't understand numbers. You were just taught, do this, sit and work with this piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to show you some games we can do here. This, because we have the 2 different decks, 1 through 10 or 11 through 20. What we have, if you play our games, and if you're going to use your own material, that's fine. But if you go to our website and you click on game directions right at the top, there's 15 different suggestions of different games you can play. Okay, they're right there. Every deck, no matter whether you're doing understanding numbers 1 through 10 or 11 through 20 or the addition, or doesn't matter which deck. It's the same game. So go right, and if you right now take out Number 7, it says number 7 in the packet. If you all see number 7 in the packet, okay, pull that one out. That talks about all these games that we have that you can play with every single deck. And what we've done here for you, we give you an age that it seems to work well with, because we've been using it for years and years and years, and we've kept records of which age seems to work well. How many players? If you're just tutoring, like War is a fabulous one for tutoring. Class, if it's a full class, you still can use them because you can divide the class into groups. Teams, the teams are fabulous, but little ones, you have your 5, 6-year-olds, I wouldn't do the teams yet. They're just too young. And then at home, this is wonderful homework. If you have games, send home games. I had one mother walk in one day and she said, if I play Go Fish one more time, she said he all week till we got back here every day, I want to play Go Fish again. But do you understand what happens? Remember, R in learn is repetition, rehearsal. They're playing over and over without even, they're not fighting. I don't want to do my homework. Okay, now if we're doing understanding numbers, what I did here, I highlighted. You can do the 2 out of the 15 games that are really good for that are memory and lineup. Lineup is simply when you get the directions, you can play with 2 to 24 players. You can start with 4-year-olds. They just have to line up the numbers. And it sounds so silly, but to them it's a big deal. And even if you say, I'll play against you if you're doing one-on-one. And I always make believe I'm losing and I can't find the number. And they're so busy to beat. They want to win. It's normal. They want to win. Okay, you can have a team. You see, it says it's even good for teams. But they get upset when they're that young. So do it even in little groups, teams, the lineup. Even if they're struggling with knowing their numbers, use that. Okay, use the lineup. Memory, I find perfect for 5 years old and over. 4-year-olds can do it, begin with very few cards. Every deck has 24 sets. If you're going to begin with 4, 5, take the deck and divide it in half. Even I just worked with a child who's 4, and I only included 4 pairs, 4 sets. We only had 8 cards, and that was enough. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, the memory. Here's the memory game. Now, this one, instead of the 48 cards, we put them down, and there's, how many do we have? There's 20. We put 20 cards, so there are 10 sets, 10 matches. Now they're learning to understand numbers. This is the part that I think we lose a lot of children. They think a number is, this is number 1. That's what number 1 looks like. But what we've done in our deck, let's say they turn over the card number 2. Now they're looking for another 2. Well, they turned over 2. They have a match, and they go again. But look at the other thing we put on here. And let's say they're doing number 2 again. Number 2 could also be this one. Number 2 could be the blocks. Number 2 can be 2 fingers. The actual number 2, when you write it, is the numeral. That's what a numeral means. We always call them numbers. We don't call them numerals because we're just used to calling them numbers. That's fine. Leave it alone. Tell the children, put up the number that you write when you write it on paper. But your 2 fingers mean the same thing. I still know you mean 2. The 2 blocks mean the same thing. I know you mean 2. Okay? So if they have 2 dots, now we have this in all the games. If they let's say they turn over the 2 dots and they turn over 2 fingers, is it a match? Yeah, it still represents 2 things. Okay, if they turn over The numeral 2 and the 2 blocks, is it a match? Yes. Now they're learning what numbers mean. Okay, we seem to skip that in school, and it's important. Okay, let me show you. Once you get to 11 through 20, look at the first screen. We have 12. Now, if they had turned over 12, 2 numerals, perfect. But now they turned over tally marks. We can represent numbers by doing tally marks. And so we have 5, and they're learning how to count by 5s. 5, 10, 11, 12. Is that a match with the numeral 12? Sure. And the next page, look at the next little screen next to it. We put pencils in a bundle of 10s. 10. Now we have a little bundle of 5. 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. If they turn over an 18, is it a match? Yes. So they're starting to understand and play with numbers. They usually, I know when I went to school, probably when you went to school, even maybe teaching now, raise your hand if you just go right into adding. Now you take the 4 plus the 2. How many? I'm just curious because you may all be using different programs, different math programs. How many actually go into understanding what numbers are? Nobody raised their hand. Okay, I don't see everybody, so somebody might have. I just see a few people. It's an amazing thing. Once they start understanding it, it becomes a little easier for them. If, again, you see a child who they're still lost, at the very end today, I'm going to go through reasons that they're still going to be lost. Okay, now let's go to our assessment again. And this time, look at number 7 and 8. 7 and 8 deals with addition and subtraction. Okay, so you say now, if you're going to use our card games, you go right across and you see where it's written, where it says examine or column. Look at 7 and 8. They tell you exactly which deck to get. Okay, like now it would say addition, subtraction. I would get the addition deck. You go back and look at your chart. Now you're up to little 6-year-olds. Go fish. That, I have to tell you, is number one. Number one, every child loves go fish. Okay? And you're sitting there and you're playing and you say, you're doing addition. I have, let me, okay, for go fish, you would go, I have 6 plus 6. Who has 12? Or you may say, and then they give them the card for the match, and then they go again. All the directions are right there. If you're using your own cards that you already have, just go on our stronglearning.com, click on game directions, and you'll get all the directions to do with any decks. I have a 12. Who has anything that adds up to 12? Well, they may have in the hand 7 plus 5. Another child may have 4 plus 8. Okay? Another one may have 6 plus 6. Okay, the whole point, let them understand numbers as they go along. And they'll start to remember them because they're playing over and over again. Now, the other thing, memory. It is great for addition. Let me show you. This is the addition and subtraction decks. Memory. Let's say they have 2 plus 3 and they have a 5. Perfect match, if that's it. But then they have 4 plus 4, or they could have turned over 3 plus 5 and 4 plus 4. Is that still a match? Yeah. And if they have, let's say they turn over 2 8s, they equal each other too. It's still a match because you'll be left with the 8s in the deck. Okay, so it's by playing with them, you're keeping them with you and they're practicing and practicing. You're going to find some children love war. I have one little boy that's it. He won't play anything else. The majority, it's Go Fish. And I'd say memory is pretty close up there. But if you see they're struggling, just put out less cards. That's all, less matches. Okay, now this game of bingo is so much fun. I played it all through COVID. All my tutors were playing it with the kids on COVID, on Zoom. Go to your, that I gave you, and this one is called 8 and 9. Go to 8 and 9 in your packet. Okay? Don't write on these until you copy them so that you have copies. Okay, don't lose it. But if you go right to our game directions, they're right there. You can always download another one in case, so don't panic if you write on it. What happens is you now go to packet 10. Go to page 10 in your packet. That's going to be addition and multiplication facts. You download this and you give each child, if it's on Zoom, you just email it to them, or in class, you just hand them out. You can copy this. Again, it's right in our game directions. You just cut it in half. Everyone, let's say, is getting addition, the addition facts. They then fill out, I would say the little ones begin with your 9 square bingo. Don't go to 25. It's overwhelming. We've tried it. It's no good. And I keep thinking they're so little. And well, they're old enough they could do it. They can't. They are thrilled with the 9 square. Okay, so now you can do it either way. The squares are big enough that they can write 2 plus 3 equals 5. They decide. They make up their own bingo. And by them doing that, they're writing them. They can't use any combination more than once. Only once. Like here, we filled it in, and we filled in 5, 8, 7. Here we just put the answers, the sums. If you want them to put the whole thing, it will take longer, but they're writing. They're seeing it, they're saying it, they're writing it. Okay, now when you play bingo, you call out and you say 2 plus 3, and they've got to find 5. You may not want them to write the whole thing out, but some of the children may need to see it over and over again, and eventually just put just the sums on your 9 square bingo cards. Okay, you can put markers on them. They can put X's or circle it when you call it, and someone will yell 2 plus 3. They can use their fingers. 5. Okay, did I write down 5? Okay, once they start, I've had many children say, can I erase it? I want to put another number. And because they see they're not winning at first, and they just want to switch immediately. Tell them keep it, because you never know. You may have all these numbers eventually. Just leave it, and you still may get bingo. And here, it's not the whole card, or you may ask them, do you want to do the whole 9? Or you can do across, diagonal, horizontal, vertical, however you want to do it. The directions are all on our website under game directions. Okay, let's move on, and let's go back to assessment, and let's say it ends up at number 8, the times table. The times table. That one, besides those addition facts, that it just messes up so many kids if they don't know that times table. Yes, they can use the calculator, but even the SATs now have switched that some of the things you can use a calculator and some you can't. They have to know that times table. Okay, so now we only included, my husband just reminded me, as I said, his doctorate's in teaching math and physics, so it's good having him around here with this. We only put in the ones, the 24 matches that are the hardest ones. We did not include any 2 times table, because the kids learn that immediately, 2, 4, 6, 8. We did not include the 5s, and we did not include the 10s. because they learn those immediately. It's the 3s, 4s, 6, 7, 8, and 9s. Okay, that's what this is made up of. Okay, now I have to tell you, the Division 1 is tough. And even when I'm playing it with them, I go, whoa, wait, let me think. Okay, and the kids struggle. So if they know the times tables, they're going to be okay. Now with the times table, and it's usually now they're 7, 8 years old, they're a little bit older. Go Fish, they love. Memory, they love. War, try that, but you only have 2 people. Now, if you had enough card decks or whatever you're going to do to use, and you divide kids up, but it's hard in a classroom. It really is tough. Teams you can't do, but if you have just 2 kids, it's fun. Showdown, they love. Look up the directions for Showdown. You can set up teams. Absolutely, you go, and but they have to be about 8 years old and older. I've tried with 7-year-olds, and even 7-year-olds. And one little boy say to me, okay, I'm getting too stressed, because I had a group of kids and we had one team against another. A 7, they still a little hard. But 8+, gin rummy. You deal out 6 cards to each child. They have to get 3 matches, 3 pairs. And one summer, I had a whole dyslexia group with me, and I knew none of them knew the times table. So I showed them how to play, and I gave them chips. I had 4 of the boys came in early every single week because they wanted to play gin rummy with the chips. And my husband walked in and said, they're gambling? They're playing poker? What are you doing? And I said, they love it. And it was basically gin rummy, and they had to get their matches, and they were learning the times table. Many of the kids will say, can I borrow it? Can I take it home? On our website, you can actually download these games, but it comes out as paper, and then you have to cut them up and they can take those home. You can laminate them. They're on Teacher Pay Teacher, all that stuff that you can. But I have to say, it doesn't work as well as you have a card. Okay, years and years ago, when I started all this stuff, all my games, everything, I started with index cards. And that's how I started thinking of this and putting it all together. Index cards work well. They're okay. Little ones, you get your 5x7, cut them in half, and there you've got your index cards. Writing on the side with the lines. Okay. Well, either way, just so you don't switch. Has to be the lined or the unlined. Okay, gin rummy is great for this. Now there's bingo. Again, they're old enough to go to the 25 square bingo. You have it. You're holding it there in your packet. You will have the bingo. Run them off before you actually start using them at all. Okay? And again, you can put the whole thing down. 3 times 4 is 12, or just put 12. But they can't duplicate. Now, there are certain ones like 24. You will have 24 twice, because you may have 8 times 3, you may have 6 times 4. You may have, or let's say 36. You have your 6 times 6, and you also, I think I did put on here 9 times 4. Okay, that's fine, but you have to make sure that there will be a match for it. You can't use the same one over and over again. There it is. Those are the facts that you have right with you. Here's some strategies that I came up with just to share with you. And again, if you have anything that you said this worked fabulous, it was great. We're approaching 10 o'clock. Around 10:15, I'm going to stop, and we're going to have questions and any comments. So, oh God, this goes so fast. Okay, and just send them in. And if you miss anything today, you can always email me personally if you miss it today and you want to ask me anything. My email is just linda@stronglearning.com. Just email whatever you need. Okay, here's some strategies that I came up with during my 100 years here. 1, to learn the times table, spend ample time to learn each of the number facts. What I find, the kids come in from school and the teachers give them, the sheet with 100 of them. and they're doing math a minute. Math a minute is great for the kid that is good in math. But that math a minute, the little kids come to me. I've actually written notes to the teachers. No math a minute. This child will learn it. Okay, just leave it, because that going back to that engage them emotionally. We will lose them. Number 2, again, use the fingers. Learn the 2 times table immediately. 2, 4, 6, 8. By shouting, by whispering, they're going to learn the 2 times table immediately. If they know the addition facts, they will be fine. You say to them 2 times table is just the addition facts. What's 4 plus 4? 8. Well, you got 2 4s, so 4 times 2 is just 2 4s. 8. They'll know it. The child who keeps getting confused, keep watching that child. At the end, I'm going to talk about that type of child. Okay. Learn the 4 times table. One of the things I've done, they learn the 2s very quickly because they go 2, 4, 6, 8, and they just immediately double it. So if you have 4, what's 4 plus 4? 8. Okay, there's your 4 times table. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8. The 5 times table, 5, 10, 15, 20, again. And just when you're learning the other things, do 1 at a time. Do just 2s, and they'll all do great. Then do your 5s, then your 10s, then your 4s. Now, let me show you what I've done for the 3s. If you're doing this, just raise your hand and say, yes, we're doing this already. Do you know the song, Row, Row Your Boat? How many are doing this to the 3 times table? Okay, I learned this one 100 years ago, somewhere along the line. Hold up your hands, okay? Just hold them up. And now, put them in fists in front of you. You take out your thumb, that's 3 times 1. 3, 2 fingers, 6. 3 times 3, 9. 3 times 4, 12. And you sing to row, row, row your boat. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And you continue. 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. You sing that. The kids walk out of my office singing it and singing it and singing it. Give the parents, send them home so the parents know the directions. They can be driving in the car. They be someplace. They just keep singing it. 3, 6. I work with these kids for years and years and years sometimes, and they come back in middle school and they're doing something and they have to do math and they're going and they have to multiply and they'll sit next to me and they go 3, 6, 9, 12, 21. They get it quickly. You want it to become automatic. But the ones who can't get it automatically, give them something to hold on to so they don't emotionally check out. Okay, that's what happens to a lot of kids in math. They leave because they get so confused. And then they can't use their fingers. Okay, this is a great one. This is, you're going to be able to, by the way, I think Lavinia and Laura said, this is going to be up, this video. So if you want to go back and see it again, it's there. The other one, which many of you may know, is the 9 times. Okay, how many of you know the 9 times trick? Okay, good. Let me go over it for the people who didn't raise their hands. Again, put your fingers in front of you, just like here. Let's say we're doing 9 times 3. You start as if you're reading straight across, same pattern as reading, beginning with 1. 1, 2, 3. You're doing 9 times 3. Lower that finger. Everything to the left, you count by 10s. 10, 20. Then you count by 1s. 21, 2. Do you see it right here? You see it right on the screen. 3, 4, 27. Okay? The interesting thing with 9s, the answer, the product, when you're multiplying 9s, will always add up to 9. Always. 3 times 9 is 27. 2 plus 7 is 9. I tell the children, you'll know if you have the right answer. Let's do 4. Put the 4th finger down, the ring finger. Start with your thumb. Okay? 10, 20, 30. Now count by 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 36. 3 plus 6 is 9. So now you have the 9 times table. So now the children will have learned the 1, 2, 3 to row your boat, 4 W2s, 5s, okay, 9s and 10s. You're left with 6, 7, 8. That's it. And keep going back and keep reviewing them, because I can't stress enough how critical they must get this. Okay, here's some other things I've done, and you can write them with your children, with the kids. Make up a jingle book. They take and they either come in with a composition book, or we hole punch it eventually and put it together. I just made these up. Make them up and have them draw pictures. A jingle 4 and 7, because that's when a lot of the miss. It's that 4 and 7 open the gate to welcome number 28. And they actually draw the people and they put heads on the numbers and they have a gate. And we go over this over and over and over again. 8, 4 and 8 made beef stew and gave it to 32. If the child is Irish, we do Irish stew. 4 and 8 made Irish stew and gave it to 32. But make them up. Let the child help you make them up, because if they made it up, they're going to remember it. Make up a book. Keep it in the book. Keep making pictures to illustrate it. This one they love. 7 and 7 went down the line to capture number 49, and they make a football field, and they have a 7, and they have them running, and they just remember it's 49. And even if we're sitting or doing something and they come up to 7 and 7, and they're sitting here and they're trying to figure it out, I go, went down, they go down the line, 49, and they have it. It just happened. 7 and 8 picked up the sticks that added up to 56. This is a cute one, because 56, if you put 5, 6 for the answer, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, they like that also, but have them take them, let them make up something that's theirs, and they're going to remember it. The last one, raise your hand up. You probably all know this. 8 and 8 went to the store to buy Nintendo 64. That was when Nintendo was so famous 100 years ago too. And they all seem to know that one. Okay, we're going to move on. Division tips. The way they're teaching division, well, it's taking these kids and it's creating such confusion, because you can't give them too much language. They have so much language. Kid is really bright. He's the one that loved Math a Minute. Okay, now we know why. Okay, I think it was 4th or 5th grade, he had to write a sentence. Why this, I forget what the thing was, this and math happened. He had to write a sentence. And he said to the teacher, I don't understand the question. Why would you write a sentence? Because in math, it just happens. That's the way it is. But he understood numbers. Some children, it's going to help. It will help them, because they're language based and they're struggling with math. But if you have a kid that's a mathematician and they're going to end up in math, telling them they don't understand what you're talking about. He kept saying, it just is. Okay. As teachers, we feel we have to do it our way. A lot of the kids with math, it's not like reading. When you read a word, that's the word. If you want to figure something out in math, you may use a different method. And if you understand numbers and you can play with numbers, you're going to understand and you're going to get it. You don't have to follow it. Now, I know you're all in school districts. You have to follow what the school gave you. Maybe you just have to go along with it. I'm not sure. That's an obstacle that gets in the way. Now, let me just go back these little tips, because I see we're running out of time. Make a book of families. Kids, a lot of them love to do that, and I hate to make it sexist, but a lot of the girls do. They love doing 6 times 4 is 24, 4 times 6 is 24, 24 divided by 6 is. They love, and they set up all these families, and they make a whole book of different families, and they draw pictures. And then the last thing, probably you all know, but I don't know if you're doing division this way anymore. The old-fashioned way of doing division for those kids who cannot remember, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. We always use, does McDonald's serve burgers? And just use your first letters. Does McDonald's serve burgers? Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. That's your division tips. Now, we're back to the star. Now we know the level. Keep going back to the assessment. You will have it no matter what you're using. Engage, that's you. It's just that engagement. Your words matter. Activate. Use all these activities. Then by doing all these activities, any ones you're doing, you're going to be playing and singing. If you have a dance, playing Twister, doing anything, you see that child loves it and is learning. Keep doing that for the rehearsal, for the practice. Practice is critical because you can't get the information in your short-term memory into the long-term. Okay, research has shown everybody's long-term and short-term memory is about the same with most people. Long-term is different. And how long it takes to get into the long-term memory depends on the child. Some people need to practice and practice. Others, it's automatic. And you just have to know which ones. And if those poor little kids need that practice, I know a lot of the schools, especially with the dyslexia, they pull them out of art. They pull them out of music so they can go and sit and do one of these programs. Oh my God, that child needs art. They need music. Do something. Try to think of some way that they can just keep playing. If they have to go to you and that's the school's policy, play with them and that'll help it. Now, you all have your last, well, not your last sheet, almost. You have a sheet. Here it is. The purposeful, playful practice. And what they do is they take this home with them. Okay? And you give them different things to do at home. And they put down, they played this game, they played that game, and they put down what they did, how many minutes, who participated, the nanny, the grandma, the mom, the aunt, somebody, the dog, somebody played the game, the stuffed animal, whatever it is, it's giving them the power. It's empowering them. They're part of it. And if you see they keep coming in with it empty and you see the kid is still struggling, contact whoever you have to contact in your school. Contact the parent, the teacher, the administrators, the counselor, someone. See what's going on, why they can't do it. It's fun homework, and they do the stuff over and over and over again. Okay, now we get to neural change. How do you know that the neurons actually change? When you learn something, there is actually a neural change. You go back and you reassess. See where they are. You reassess again. Same assessment. Now, you have this kid who's still struggling with math. How to use this picture. We just love this picture. And so here he is. He's still struggling. You're giving him the games. He's engaged. The environment is safe. You know the level. It's not too high for the child. She's not working on something that's too easy. What's wrong? Why are you losing her? Okay, these are symptoms to look for. Here are the symptoms. They avoid math. Okay, and many of you said, how many of you as children avoided math? You just didn't want to go near it. Okay, so a lot of people just avoid it. You'll notice they can't keep the numbers in columns. They have trouble, they get confused with math concepts. Trouble with word problems. We'll add one column, forget what she's doing, and then subtract the next column. Has difficulty remembering the addition and multiplication tables and the addition facts. Has difficulty remembering the math steps. Changes the order of numerals when copying them. Now, do they have dyscalculia? Dyscalculia is a math disorder, just like dyslexia is a reading disorder. According to the DSM-5, dyscalculia is a specific learning disorder. Dyscalculia. And if you go, because we're not going to have enough time for questions if I read everything, look up online DSM-5, dyscalculia, and you'll find the definitions. They're all here. I'm just going to go over.
They can also pause the video
Okay.
when you rewatch
Oh, yeah,
it.
that's right. And when you rewatch the video, it'll be here again.
And they can pause it.
Okay. Now, the strange thing with math and with reading, any of these things, problems with math, it could be they don't have dyscalculia. Just like that little boy that they were having come in at 7:30 in the morning for math, his problem wasn't math. It could be trouble processing language. They may have difficulty, they don't know the vocabulary. And if you're doing an assessment at the beginning to find the level, make sure that, because I think I skipped it here, I had a little boy and he was coming to me, and we were going to start math soon, but we were going over what he was doing in school, and he kept telling me they were learning about atom. I didn't know who atom was. Turned out he was talking about atoms, ATOM. Okay. There was another thing. There was a boy that came to me once, and it had nothing to do with math. But both parents were attorneys. He was a B, C, maybe an A here and there student. I gave him a reading piece, and it was about this hermit who lived in seclusion in this palace, in this castle with a moat around him. We go over the whole thing, and he got so many wrong. And I said to him, "Do you know what a hermit is?" He said, "Yeah, a crab." He had no idea, a hermit crab, that a hermit could be something else. He was already in 10th grade. I think the one that was the most was a little girl named Katie. And she came in and she said, "I did everything you said and I still failed the test." And she was in 9th grade, was on global studies. Okay. And she pulled out this beautiful paper from the Times the teacher had copied. And it said, "Cow problem in New Delhi." And she highlighted in pink and yellow, and it was beautiful. You could have framed it. But I said to her, "Tell me what it's about." It said in there was a cow problem in New Delhi, in a particular section of New Delhi called Okla. Okay. And she said to me, "I think it's about cows in Oklahoma and the Native Indian, the Native Americans. And they opened a new delicatessen there. And this is what she's coming up with, this bizarre story. She had no idea what was going on. That can happen in math if someone has a problem with language, processing language. 2, difficulty with visual spatial relations. If they have a problem, they're going to have a problem with math, even though they may be good in math. Difficulty with multi-step procedures. That's what was the problem with this little boy. Weakness in divided attention. The children who have a little bit of problems with attention can't stay on task. Math is a lot of steps, and you could end up losing them, especially if they got lost at the beginning and they have gaps. Additional strategies, if the child has trouble keeping the numbers in lines, to get in columns, just take regular line paper, turn it sideways. And that's it. A lot of teachers use graph paper, that's fine too, but just put it sideways. If they have a lot of numbers, cover things up so they don't see everything at once. A color code and make your fact families like I showed before. Make little books. Suggest the child circles the plus or the minus sign before they actually start, so they're not adding and over it says plus and they start subtracting. Have them do that first. And if you're doing a word problem and they're larger numbers, replace them with small numbers. And all of a sudden they're going to give you the answer, and you're going to say, replace it with a 1 or 2 or 3. And they'll give you the answer. And you say, "How'd you get that?" And they'll work backwards and realize what they did. And then just replace it with the larger numbers. I want to thank everyone today for being here. Now I'm going to go back to thank Laura and Lavinia.
Thank you so much, Linda and Al, of course, for joining us. This was great. My daughter is in 6th grade. She struggles in all the ways you described in the last slide. She has dyslexia and goes to a school for kids with dyslexia. Drills help, but how to catch her up?
Well, you have this summer. I hate to say, but don't do it with the drills. I play. That's why I created these games, because I've been here over 45 years. And let me tell you, the first years and years ago, I remember 40 years ago, the little boy walking into my office, stopping at the door and saying to me, "Don't give me a book, because I don't want to look at a book." Okay. And he just stood at the door. He wouldn't walk in. His name was Peter. I literally remember, with bright red hair. And he said, "I don't want to do this." I said, "Do you want to play? You want to play games?" He goes, "Oh, that's okay." And he came in, and that's when I pulled out the index cards and I started making up words. I started making up numbers. I started doing games. And then it just grew and grew and grew and ended up with all these games. And then we ended up with 15 different games with each deck. And I'm telling you, the gin rummy, and even if you my husband said, "You're teaching them to gamble." I said, "But they were learning the times table." Okay. And it's interesting. And the mothers would all walk in and say, "What'd you do today?" They go, "Nothing. We played. And the mothers would go, "Did you read?" "No." "Did you do math?" "No." I mean, right till this day, they could be 8 years old. They go, "No." And they were doing it the entire time. So that, yeah, if during the summer, try to catch up, take the assessment, tell her to get the assessment, and simply figure out where's the gap. What did she miss?
Definitely.
Anybody else?
Those are pretty much all of our questions. Linda and Al, I want to thank the both of you for, joining us today. Thank you so much for, sharing with us these, cool games and these different trips and techniques, which I'm definitely going to implement with my 5-year-old nephew in kindergarten. So this has been actually very, very good.
And can I add one extra thing? If you play the bingo, okay, the child has to write it in. I had a teacher call me and say, "Thank you for that idea of bingo, but I even found a game. It's already there. They don't have to write anything." And this was for dyslexic. I said, "But that was the goal." So the child's writing it and writing it. The numbers too. Let them keep writing. Okay, because it's another way of learning. Okay, and then they can cross out, and if they need another game, give them another bingo sheet, and they can fill it in again. Okay, but this teacher, I said, "You missed the whole point." No, have them write it in, because she was so thrilled. She says, "Oh, I found it's already done for me." Anyway,
thank you so much for joining us today.